Hey, what's up, social media family? Back with Pastor Joss, Albany, Georgia, Grace City Church. We're just doing some videos today, and he had a great idea to talk about prayer.
That's right. You know, one of the things I've always appreciated about you, if you've been following this channel for any period of time, you know how devoted JoJo is to prayer. I believe it is the secret to his success in life and in ministry. What is your life verse again?
Mark 1:35. Jesus got up early in the morning, went to a solitary place where he prayed.
That's right. And so I wanted JoJo to give some practicals on what that actually looks like, because I am a nuts and bolts person. I like details. I like lists. I want to know. I want to get the handle on it. And so, Joe, talk to us just about what your prayer life looks like, how it's structured, the time you spend, and what that time looks like.
Okay. When I was 20, I was raw, so just bear with me. And I was sitting in a sanctuary praying. I just rededicated my life for the 7th time. And I said, all right, God, you know, when a man and woman fall in love, they have their song. Can you and me have our scripture? And he said, Mark 1:35. I said, I have no idea what that means. So I got up, opened up. Jesus got up early in the morning, went to a solitary place where he prayed. And my mind was, if I'm going to be a Christian, Christ-like, I should get up early in the morning. That was 28 years ago. Out of 28 years, I have missed less than 10 mornings. I'm talking traveling in at night at 5 a.m.
Wow. Sleeping
maybe a few hours, getting up and starting my day. At our house, I have the prayer chair. I get in the corner and I pray before anybody gets up. Now, here's the cool thing about it. My kids are like, yeah, my dad wakes up, 4:35, 5:30, depends what we got going. And he said, when we wake up, he'll be in the prayer chair praying. That's why our family succeeds, because my dad starts. Then my wife, we have a couch in our bedroom, and she has a place where she has her morning devotions. Our kids see both of us with a daily devotion first thing in the morning. Now, we have other prayer times, but we start our day. We set ourselves apart. And so what I do, I go in and I start, first of all, thanksgiving, gratitude for the Lord. I just thank the Lord, and I go through a list of everything I'm grateful for. Then I just start praying in English over all of my family, my friends, our ministries, our business, and I pray in the Spirit. And here's the biggest part. When Philippians 4:8 says this, think, number one, think upon the things that are good, noble, just, praiseworthy. Meditate on these things. It says, first of all, think on everything's good. You're not allowed to have negative thoughts or excuses. Then it says stop and meditate, which means I stop. Leonard Ravenhill said the best prayer meeting is when you're silent.
Wow.
So I allow the Lord to minister to me. Take a deep breath, and then I attack my day. But then I also go into Matthew 6:6. But you, when you go into your room, shut your door and pray to your Father who sees in the secret, and your Father who sees in the secret, and in the secret reward you openly. 8 times it says you are your. 8 is new beginnings. So you got to have a silent place of prayer, your secret place, with the door shut, phones off, no computer, and you just pray to the Father. And when you do that, you have just a one-on-one relationship and encounter with the Lord daily. That's how I get all these prophetic words, through dreams and through my prayer life. On all of my daily blogs, on everything on Charisma and Elijah List, they always start the same way. Recently, in a time of prayer. Every word I get, that's how every blog starts. And that's just not how I start. Not being trendy.
Yeah.
It is recently in a time of prayer, so everybody will know. If you want to hear from God, set up time. Ladies, most of y'all's hair looks good, okay? When you go to pay out, what's the first thing you do? Set your appointment for your next hairdo. Got to get your hair done.
That's good.
Got to get that weave done right, girl.
Yeah.
So the thing is, we set an appointment for that. We have a standing appointment for Walmart grocery pickup. But do we have a time for God? Do you have a set appointment with God? Is God important enough to have a set appointment on your schedule, on my daily calendar? God. Nobody gets God time but God, okay? And so when you set yourself up like that, your day's going to flourish and flow when it starts with Him. Also, Mark 6:46, Jesus put the disciples basically to bed, and He went away where He prayed. He started the day, ended the day in prayer. That's why he was able to accomplish everything that the Lord called him to. And even right before his hardest thing he ever did was when he fully accepted to go to the cross. He said, Father, I don't want to do this. I want this cup to pass from me. But if not, I'll do it. But what happened was he agreed to it in prayer. When you agree to anything with God in prayer, write it down, because when you're out of prayer, you will talk yourself out of it. You never talk yourself out of anything in prayer. Only when you're out of prayer, you talk yourself out of it. And that's how I base my life.
And I appreciate that, especially coming from you, because I don't know anybody who has as many irons in the fire, who has as many businesses and different things going in their life. And so just the fact that you're always able to have that prayer, that's been prioritized in your life. And so you have a place that you go, you have a time that you go, a set appointment. Now, how you structure that time, how much time do you spend, I would say, praying in the Spirit or being quiet before the Lord? Because you do hear God so much. There's so many times where I've gotten text messages, just saying, hey, praying for you this morning, thinking about you today, what's going on? And I'm like, well, my wife is in labor and we're about to have this baby in like 30 minutes. And every significant moment in my life, I get a text from JoJo saying, praying for you today, what's going on? So how much time do you spend to listening, to praying in the Spirit, or to literally interceding and praying for all the different things that you have going on?
Okay. I start my day with minimum an hour. And what I generally do is I'll pray, Thanksgiving and stuff, I'm going to say 10 minutes, and pray for everybody in English. And then I pray in the Spirit for probably about 30, 35 minutes. Then I listen for 10 or 15 minutes. Then we get the kids up, take my son to school. Then I go to the church. Then we have corporate prayer, and the youth pray from 6:30 to 8. Then the adults pray from 8 to probably about 9:30. And so I basically just pray in the Spirit for about 90 minutes, and I have a notepad. If you're serious with God, you'll take a notepad or an iPad or something, and I write down everything. And so I basically, before 9:30, have 2.5 hours in. And people are like, why would you do that? Because I did a study one time. Every great revivalist I've ever read said they spend no less than 2 to 3 hours a day in prayer.
Wow.
And then a lot of times if I fast lunch, I'll spend another hour in prayer. And then a lot of times at night, I'll go on a prayer walk or go sit by the fire pit or something, and I'll just sit for 30 minutes. So I try minimum to get 3 hours a day in prayer. And I remember one time I was listening to a guy do a podcast, and he said the craziest thing that made no sense. He said, I pray 10 hours a day and I run my church out of prayer. He ran about 2,000 people, and I'm like, and then he had these conferences that would have 10, 15,000 people.
Wow.
Well, how do you get any work done if you pray all day? But he said what he would do is he would pray and he'd get his phone out, text the person who did it. He'd go back to prayer. He would text the person who did it. And he ran his whole life out of the place of prayer. Powerful ministry, powerful conferences, powerful everything. And he ran everything out of the place of prayer. He hired a staff to carry out everything that he did. And so there'll be times we'll be in Sunday morning worship. Hey, I can worship and I can text. and I tell people in our church, hey, I was on my phone half of worship. If you work for me, your phone was going off, okay?
Yeah.
Because I'll be getting ideas in worship and prayer. In fact, this is funny. I was at a conference one time in Nashville, and the worship leader said, hey, I'm going to play a game real quick. He said, I'm going to have JoJo come up. If JoJo can name 4 of the 7 songs we sang, I'll give him $100. And I couldn't do it. And he was laughing.
Wow.
He said, you may tell you why I did that? Because during praise and worship, he prayed the whole time and probably got 7 prophetic words.
Wow.
And had no clue what we were doing up here. He was lost in the presence because he's a man of prayer. When you're a person of prayer, it changes everything. My kids are kids of prayer. They're always like talking about the prophetic words they're getting out of prayer. They run their ministries and everything they do out of prayer. If you can learn to run your life out of prayer. I remember one day years ago, I was having a financial struggle, and I said, God, what do I do? And I didn't hear anything. I go into prayer. He speaks immediately. One day I was real busy, but I gave God extra time, and the Lord said, go home and talk to your kid about this right here. It was something they were going through. I didn't even see it, but I got it in prayer. Here's what I do, talking about messaging you. Every day in prayer, I'll be like, all right, God, give me 5 people to message today. Wow. Hey, in prayer, I just had you on my mind. And usually I get a message back from everybody. 2 weeks ago, I was praying about something really big. And one of the generals in the faith called me and said, hey, Joe, I was praying for you. And the Lord said this and this. There you go. There's your answer. And I was like, look at God. Won't he do it?
Yeah.
And so how much time do you go to prayer and ask God, who needs me to pray for, intercede for them? And I'll be in intercession. I'll say, God, who needs intercession today? I'm here. I got 30 minutes to pray for who's on your heart today.
Wow.
And God will just give me people. Some days he'll give me a name and I have to Google the name.
Wow.
And it will be a politician from another nation who's trying to turn a corrupt nation around. Or it's somebody who's trying to launch a business. It's so crazy. When you're in prayer, you have no idea what God would do. Everything I'm doing in my life, I had a vision of it in prayer, and I just do it. We had a lady in our church recently who just had a conference, and she said, how do you think it went? I said, well, how do you think it went? She said, it was a mirror image of the picture God showed me in prayer.
Wow.
I said, well, then it was a success. You see it in the spirit before you see it in the natural.
Yeah. So you start the day, Thanksgiving, adoration, praying over the different things you have going on, spend time praying in the spirit, listening, and then saying, God, what's on your heart? What do you want me to pray for? And so you're praying his will, not your will be done. You're allowing God to use you to pray for his heart and his desires. And that's why I think God has chosen to always bless and give you the desires of your heart, that when your heart is for him and for what he wants on the earth, you can't live that way and not experience the blessing and the favor of God on your life. That's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and it's really simple. Everything is found in the Word. 2 Chronicles 16:9, for the eyes of the Lord move to and fro throughout the whole earth, that God can find one person in Texarkana whose heart is loyal to him. I added the Texarkana part in. But when he finds his person, he'll just pour out upon them. I never knew that. And I'll be honest, y'all's church here in Albany, Georgia, has found the eyes of the Lord. The eyes of the Lord has found you. I walk in, I said, these are my people. And they have an amazing coffee bar. Very important. And so when you got coffee and the power and the presence and administration, it just works. God's looking for, whatever you do, God is looking for somebody in your field of industry, whatever part of society, whatever mountain you're a part of, whatever part of the society you're in, he's looking for one person in your geographical location that can find the will of the Lord. And it is found in prayer. I know so many people who've got jobs they're not qualified for, started business. I got a friend who has probably one of the biggest electrical businesses in our region. He knows nothing about electricity. He said, God said, we need somebody with integrity to run this business. And he said, so I just hired a bunch of good electricians and I understand business, so I run it and it's working, but I don't know anything about this field.
Wow.
God's just wanting for somebody to say yes. And hey, if it makes sense, it's probably not God. Okay? So go for the wild, go for the things that God has. And when you consecrate your life, just consecration to God in prayer, he'll give you the desires of your heart.
That's so good.
You got anything else?
No, that's perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Love you guys.